Good morning, friends. It is lovely to be here with you this morning for the Journey Home Meditation Morning Sit. I am Michael. I'm going to be leading us through a little contemplation, some breath work, some meditation practices, and we might even get to a poem this morning. We'll see. But all that is to say that I am happy to be here this morning. Let's start with just a few conscious breaths. Just being aware of your body in this moment. See how you're sitting, how you're holding yourself, and pay attention to how you're breathing. And then for just 3 breaths, let's breathe in through our nose to the bottom of our belly. Bringing in calm, peace, relaxation, awareness, and finding out what it is we are holding in our cup today, what we're bringing into this conversation. See where we might have some blocks and some resistance, and letting those things go. See where you have any expectations or where you might be wanting the world to be a certain way, and we'll let that go. Breathing in through the nose. And breathing out. And breathing in. And breathing out. There's so much that has potential to invite your reactions, your resistance. When we are feeling particularly exposed or vulnerable, it can be even more heightened that we want to react. And there's almost something pleasurable about finding evidence towards the resistance that you feel cropping up inside. So to maybe illustrate this, it's like you have a feeling in your body and you start to doubt it. Your thoughts are starting to question it a little bit, like, why am I feeling this? Why do I feel this edginess, this irritability? Why do I feel this discomfort? And then you start to look for reasons to defend that feeling. Oh, that's why. Oh, yeah? Well, screw you. Like, you get these things that pop up that want to feed on that, because when we feel that discomfort, I think that for myself, at least I'll speak for myself here, when I feel that intense discomfort of feeling exposed in a detrimental way, feeling vulnerable and really feeling alone, is what that comes down to. If you keep tracing back, you keep going behind the feeling, what's behind that feeling, you get to beliefs, beliefs are behind our feelings. And the feeling that we have of feeling exposed and on display or called out can oftentimes, for myself at least, the belief there that can be that I am alone. I'm not connected, right? I feel disconnected. Not, more than just alone. Alone is not a negative feeling, and it's not a negative belief uh, inherently, right? But the disconnection, the loss of connection with others, that feeling of acceptance and safety and unconditional love that we sometimes feel in our communities, that can be challenged. And depending on what your emotional experience is with dealing with that feeling, that can be a big feeling that comes up. And when I can find evidence that supports why I'm angry or why I'm vulnerable or why I feel isolated, then I find connection. I find connection through the things. If there's other people that are angry about this thing, I find connection. If there's other people that are pointing out my enemy, then I have connection. Um, and so we have this function of ours, right, as social beings, right, as part of a larger organism to create connections. It's a really beautiful thing. It's a really wonderful trait that we have as humans to want to connect with others. But just because we have that trait doesn't mean we're always going to be using it in the most beneficial way. Sometimes we can create those connections out of fear and out of the sense of isolation. And I think that this is true for all of our traits and tendencies, right? Uh, it's like I'm reminded of Star Wars, the Force. Pardon. And I never thought I would be talking about Star Wars on the Journey Home morning sit, but here we are. Um, but you think of the Force, right? When we talk about um, this collective consciousness, that's kind of like the Force, and it can be used for positive intention or ill intention. And I think that's true with all of our coping mechanisms, our survival strategies, our and pretty much anything that we do to exist in this world can be used in a way that is without awareness. And that's pretty much what it is. When we are without awareness as to our intentions, then we are more likely to manipulate to get the outcome that we desire. And I've been thinking about that a little recently. I've been thinking about it in terms of this, that what we do on small levels, we also do on large levels, right? On the larger scale. The, um, so the way that I treat or respond to or behave around a seemingly insignificant exchange is a pattern for the way that I might behave or respond around a larger issue. And this is how this came to being in my mind. I was at the Green Tortoise Hostel in Seattle. I stayed there the night that I saw Padre Kotuma read poetry at St. Mark's Cathedral. And I was, I woke up that morning and uh, I had a bit of a restless night. It was very loud there. It's a youth hostel. And I forget that I'm not youth. I don't know why I forget that, but I always forget that. And I booked the room at the youth hostel. It was not that much cheaper than getting an Airbnb someplace else or finding a, low cost hotel or motel. But I saw the Green Tortoise Hostel and I was like, oh yeah, Green Tortoise, of course. That's a fun place to stay. I stayed there 15 years ago. Sure, this will be fun. And I forgot that 22-year-old uh, international travelers tend to stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning listening to electronic dance music and screaming out their sexual tensions in the streets with one another right outside of my window. And I booked in the hostel bed that was a shared dormitory. It was very inexpensive, but there's 8 beds in the one small room, bunk beds, and I was the last one in the room, so I received the top bunk, um, which it was not the most comfortable sleep I've ever had. But so I woke up in the morning pretty early, and it was probably 4:30, 5 o'clock when I woke up, and um, I wasn't well rested. I wasn't probably tending to myself. I was probably playing that game of somebody should have done something, and then the other side of that game is why did I book here? I'm an idiot. And then breakfast starts coming out sometime around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Breakfast starts coming out. And I carry all of that feeling with me without really acknowledging it, right? I didn't take the time to sit and do some body movement practice that I like to do in the mornings. I did not take the time to sit on a pillow and bring awareness through my body. I was just sort of trudging through that morning. And I got into the breakfast line and put some bread into the toaster, put it down, and maybe just a couple of minutes, and I come back and I push the button to eject the toast. And the toast, of course, is not done. Right? It's not done. Why would it be done? It's been like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I frustratedly push it back down. I take stuff to my table, come back and do it again. Not done. And then I stopped because I was recognizing what I was doing. I was trying to somehow create this situation where magically my toast would be done quicker. And in rushing it, of course, I delayed the inevitable. Had I just left it alone, it probably would have been another minute or two, and I would have had deliciously browned toast to have for breakfast. But instead, I rush this process. I rush through it. I don't take the time to sit in that 5 minutes that it takes to make that toast would have been a perfect time for me to stand in stillness and breathe into the bottom of my belly and feel that breath in my body as I just stood there waiting. I didn't have to do anything. It had already been done. What was happening was doing, and I didn't have to partake in that. I didn't have to be a part of that. But I was so filled with this feeling of exposure and vulnerability that I should be doing something about this because I hadn't rested. And I wasn't upset, honestly. I was really grateful. I'd had an amazing time the night before at this poetry reading, and I just had an amazing week, and I was feeling really good in my conscious, like my frontal lobe thoughts. Like I'm sitting here thinking I'm doing great. It isn't my problem. It's this stupid toaster. But it's not the toaster. It's my missed opportunity to stop and breathe and allow this thing to come in the time that it needs to come. And it's toast. I get that. I get that we're talking about toast. And it's not just a metaphor, it's a microcosm of the larger way of being. So here I am rushing this thing and feeling frustrated and feeling feelings of lack or feelings of unfairness. Not a huge amount. It's toast, but it's there. It magnify that, make that on a larger issue, and I'm probably behaving close to the same way. I'm stepping in because this is a big deal, and I'm ignoring what I carry in. I'm ignoring, how did I sleep? Have I had water? Have I stretched my body? Have I taken a moment to feel what it is I am feeling in this day? Have I done my hygiene? All of these little things that I do that build upon itself to create this ability that I can then have to move through my day with ease. Have I done those things? No. And it's the same thing on a larger scale when I'm stepping into a larger conundrum. Have I done all of the things necessary for myself to be whole before I entered into this? And if I haven't, now is the time. I have time. I have time to breathe. I have time to move my body just a bit. I have time to stretch into my being and take care of my wholeness before I enter into this frustrating and, you know, disappointing situation. Because it doesn't have to be frustrating and disappointing. If I realize that I breathe, it's not frustrating, I'm frustrated. It's not disappointing, I'm disappointed. I'm taken off of what I appointed it to be. I thought it should be like this. So it's me. It's what I'm carrying. And so I'm experiencing the thing that I want to experience to inform my belief that this is what this is. I'm creating that experience, that frustrated experience. So on this little level, it's toast. I'm making toast. Opportunity, meditation bell, dings, there it is. I have 5 minutes while this toast is toasting to breathe. I have 5 minutes to go inside of myself. And if you think 5 minutes isn't a long time, hold your breath. It feels like a really long time. And if you think 5 minutes is not very long, or if you think 5 minutes is a long time, rather, pardon me, hold the hand of someone you love. It's very quick. 5 minutes is not enough time. So it's all relative, is my point. But you take that time that you have to bring it into yourself. So the small scale is toast, the larger scale is huge life decisions. And I'm behaving the same way on both levels. But the awesome thing about this understanding, what really helps me, is that I know I don't have to worry about changing my behavior on these large things that are really difficult for me. Like I have these defense mechanisms for a reason. There was a time in my life that I needed them to survive. I have these beliefs for a reason because my life experience has informed a certain set of beliefs and ideals. So to abandon them when I'm facing a big decision, a life altering decision, that's really difficult. That's really difficult to step out of your normal way of being. But I can stop while I'm making toast. I can do that. I can train myself in that 5 minutes to stop and breathe and rest. And then maybe it's a little bit of a larger decision. Maybe it's a little bit of a larger predicament. I can use that practice of breathing that I took into toast and I can take that a little bit farther in the next one. It's like an emotional fitness, right? I can lift smaller things first. I can make smaller shifts first. And then as I practice those things and have an ability to change my habitual behaviors around those things, then all of a sudden I'm changing my consciousness. My habitual behaviors are affecting the way I view my world, and they're affecting the way that I believe about myself. So changing those things on an easier scale, making toast, then I start to change and I'm pivoting now. And now I can take that understanding to those larger things a little bit easier. It's more gentle. So that's why 3 breaths. It's really a lot bigger than 3 breaths. And that's why very big things are really no larger than 3 breaths. I say all of this because I know it to be true for me right now. And I know that truth is temporary. I know that it will change its shape and it will change its teacher, and but in this moment, I have faith in that. I had a poem that I was going to read, but sitting on my desk is this card that I'm plan on sending out at some point. And I don't know where, but I have an idea. And it's a printed card. It's from Expedition Press. Expedition Press is a wonderful small print shop. She makes letterpress, beautiful letterpress, broadsides, greeting cards, takes commissions. Um, and I ordered these sets of letterpress cards from her, and they're poems. And she takes these snips of poetry and prints them. And letterpress is so amazing because it actually impresses upon the page. It's not like a modern printer that just sort of lays the ink on the page. This uses force to press the letter into the paper. Right? So there's texture, there's depth. You can hold this page and you can feel the love and the work and the craft that goes into it. It's really a phenomenal thing. But it has this quote from a poem by Soretta Morgan. I want to wake every morning into love, where love is the question of how I'm going to help you get free, where that means whatever it needs to mean. I want to wake every morning into love, where love is the question of how I'm going to help you get free, where that means whatever it needs to mean. There is so much in that charge. There is so much that's being asked of us. Love is asking so much of us in that question of how I'm going to help you get free. Well, one thing I learned over the years, I knew some goat people. They weren't people, half goat, half people, nothing fun mythological, although they did smell like goats, so maybe they were half goat, half people. But they raised goats. They tended to goats. And I learned that when you have goats penned into a fenced in area, they domesticate very, very quickly. Right? It's an easily domesticatable animal. They are very docile generally. But if one of those goats gets out and becomes free, they become feral, right? A feral goat. And pretty quickly, their body starts to change. But this is the thing that I learned, is that when a feral goat gets free, they don't just leave. They come back and they start collecting goats and breaking them out of the pens or helping them to escape so that they too can become feral and become free. See, so to get free, you have to have someone who is free. So for me to help anyone get free, I'd have to also have already left the confines of my imprisonment. And in this case, if I'm imprisoned by my own impatience, by my own insistence for control, if that's holding me down to, prematurely flipping up my toast multiple times, whatever it is, uh, then I don't have the ability to help another person step out of that cycle. And it's not to say that we all have to be perfect and no, that's not what's being spoken here at all. It's just about recognizing in my breath where I'm holding on too tightly in my body to the things that I would be better having let go of. That's it. That's what forgiveness is. It's just finding where I'm holding the wound in my body so tightly held that I would be better if I could let that go. I could let that stranglehold around my anger, hatred, fear, and resentment go, and it has nothing to do with anybody else. It's me standing there, holding myself in that way. I like this charge. I want to wake every morning into love, where love is the question of how I'm going to help you get free, and where that means whatever it needs to mean. I'm reminded of Malcolm X, by any means necessary. Yeah, it's wonderful. How am I going to get free today? Hmm. And where am I already free? Where have I done work that I've freed up that space? I've opened that space. Grow into the spaces that you open inside of yourself. Please. We're waiting. The world's waiting on you to grow into the spaces that you open for yourself. All right, friends. That's where I'm going to leave it today. I really appreciate being able to be here doing this. Um, I am no longer on Facebook. Um, so there's a lot of people that are not able to see this. But if you are a person who's using social media and you appreciate these morning sits, spread the word to send people over here to the Substack. Um, I think it's helpful when there's more of us here. There's a higher likelihood that more people will start to bring what they have to bring to the conversation, and then the conversation gets rich. And I knew I was taking a chance by stepping out of the social media platforms to be more focused on just this platform. The chance that I was taking was having a much smaller uh, reach for some time, but I think we can help each other to expand that reach, and you can also do that by entering into the conversation, responding to the posts, reacting, telling me where you are. And if you'd like to join me live on the broadcast on camera and have a conversation around this, let me know. Starting in May, this is going to look a little different. My morning meditations will be a live and in person practice, and we'll have a camera and we'll have the microphone facing myself so that we can broadcast those live sessions, but it's going to be a little different. So, all I'm asking, I guess, is for you to engage. Um, it's how we engage with one another here that is going to make the difference in our practice. It really is. But with all that, I appreciate you all.